Hello everyone! Blizzard has decided to bring back buddies for the next patch. That's super exciting. I thought buddies were very flavorful, super fun meta to play. I'm going to dive right in, talk about all the stuff that's coming back and things that are changing. The first thing I want to tackle is how you will be acquiring buddies. So for those of you who never played the buddy patch, essentially every hero had a specific card, minion, that would be given to them at some point during the game, which would just give you a way to play the game. It would either make you very strong on that turn itself or would introduce a lot of scaling, so very fun. Now, when would you get your buddy? That was dictated by the buddy meter. This meter filled up in the combat, and the better you did in the combat, the more it would fill up. It would have a cap every turn, so you couldn't just max it out in one fight. But capping out your buddy meter every turn was a very good thing because it means that you get your buddy at the earliest possible. The main way people did this was just create a very high attack minion because dealing overkill damage was very good for the buddy meter. So the meta was just build a very high attack Chroma Wing or a very high attack Pop Pod or whatnot and just crash into things and deal damage. Now that was very frustrating because if your high attack minion hit into a Divine Shield, this would count as dealing 1 damage and therefore you would not get a lot of at all. So if your, let's say 20 damage but 4 health Chroma Wing went into a 4 damage Pop Pod, you would get almost no buddy meter and your game was basically ruined because it was very fast meta, very tempo heavy. Seems like Blizzard has recognized that that wasn't the most fun experience. They're changing it. So now instead of filling up a buddy meter to unlock your buddies, you will get a buddy button that costs a lot of gold at the start of the game, and as the game progresses it will get cheaper and cheaper, so you can choose when you want to make that investment to get your buddy. The early tier buddies, tier 2, tier 3, they will be cheaper and thus available earlier than the higher tier buddies, and that's very normal because the way the buddies are balanced is the higher tier is the more powerful buddy, the more crazy effect, so you'll have to wait longer to get those. Now, the way how you can manipulate the cost is by winning. If you win a round, the cost will reduce by 3, same as if you tie. But if you lose, the cost will only reduce by 2. So this, I think, is a good thing to talk about because your instinct is going to say, what? They're going to reward the high rollers. So if you're doing well, you just get your buddy earlier. But I think the reverse is a lot worse when you say you're going to reward people that are power leveling and thus losing fights. Level, get your buddy fast, bam, get high tier minions, get your buddy, and just, I think that would be a worse experience. Now at least you have to do your best early to win fights, because if you wouldn't, yeah, you just can create this crazy power level experience. Now we'll have to see how the system works. Maybe this one will also not feel great, maybe it will feel amazing, so I'm happy to test it out, but that's what it's going to look like. So you can activate your buddy button twice per game, because the first time, same as before, you will get a regular copy of your buddy. Then the next one will give you 2 more. So if you were able to keep your initial buddy on the board, you will now have a golden version. But sometimes you also got a good battle cry buddy, so you just cycle that one and then get 2 more. Like Gallywix had a really good battle cry one, but usually you wouldn't keep the first one on the board, so you just play, multiples. And that can also be great. You don't have to make a buddy. Okay, cool. So now let's talk about the second part, all the new buddies, and I give you my opinion whether I like them or not. Now, the one that was teased on the patch itself is the Murloc Holmes buddy, which is called Watfin, which is obviously great. Blizzard is great with names like that. It's very fun. This one is a tier 3 buddy that says, after you guess correctly with Detective for Hire, which is the hero power for Murloc Holmes, you get a plain copy of the minion. Now, this is tougher to gauge because it's going to be tier 3, so you don't get it super early with tier 2, so you don't get that extra economy boost super early. This is obviously very RNG heavy because you don't know which minion is going to be offered. Your opponent can have a you know, a brand on the board early, but it might choose the rock pool hunter that's on the board, and you might not be offered it. I'm not even sure if you're offered neutrals very often. It's maybe early game, but whatnot. So this I think is harder to gauge, but my instinct is that it's not like insane. There's a couple of buddies that are showcased. So this also depends a little bit on how tempo heavy the meta is, because that extra economy might kick in slightly too slow, but we will see. Right? We have a nice little overview here of the other new buddies. So here we have Watfin, right, with Murloc Holmes, but I'll just be going over the other ones. Now we have Ajara with Imperial Defender. Whenever you cast a spellcraft spell on a different minion, you also cast it on this. Now there is a very, very, very important detail here, that this is also a Naga. That's so important, because that means that this will get buffed by a Thissa. You use it to count for an extra Naga for Shoal, and there's just all kinds of good reasons for this to have a type. Buddies that have a type have a big advantage over buddies that don't have a type, because they're affected by Jug, Lightfang, Theodore, and whatnot. So that's a make or break thing for a buddy a lot of the time. So I like this, because this can give you a sweet, sweet tempo boost. Ajara essentially gets a Naga every turn off the hero power once you activate it, and by the time you have the buddy, you will probably have this activated already. So yeah, this looks like a lot of fun, where if you have a good Ajara game, this is going to make it a great Ajara. Then Ozumat, Avenge 2, upgrade Tentacular by +1/+1. So this is a 4/4. That's not the worst stats, and it's a beast. So again, right, important that you could keep this around in a certain build. The instinct here is that it feels like that's just a little bit too slow, too plain compared to some of the crazy shit we know people are going to do with buddies. So Ozumat just getting +1/+1 on the tentacle, it almost feels like this might have to be a tier 2 buddy, but then again, maybe it's too strong, you get it too early, I don't know. But instinct is that this isn't going to suddenly put Ozumat on the map. Then we have Coilfang Elite, which is the Vash buddy. After a spellcraft minion appears in Bob's Tavern, get a copy of its spell. That feels so good to have a tier 2 buddy, 3/4. It's a type, and it means that once you have a Thissa or Lava Lurker even, just rolling a spellcraft is going to be so nice. So it might be that this is one of those cards that I'm just not really judging properly, because when you play with the patch, day one, so many assumptions just go out the window and you're like, oh, this is actually strong, and I was wrong about it, but this feels good. So I'll definitely try Vash when the patch hits, because this feels like a lot of fun. Now, it could be that you are in a position where you don't really get a good Naga setup, and then it feels like, okay, whatever. But if you have Wrangler on your board, the 5/7 gives +2/+2 every time you cast a spell. It's insane. If you have a Thissa, it's insane. This feels good. It might be too good at a 2-star buddy, but once again. Then Togwaggle. This one looks crazy as well. Waxadread the Drippy. Battlecry, refresh Bob's Tavern with the highest tier minion from each opponent's warband. So that feels like it's going to be an insane power spike, as you get essentially the best minion in the tavern, and then you hero power and steal all of them. Now it is a 4-star. And we've seen this in the past, where there were some really cool 4-star buddies, but they just took too long and you took too much damage, and then you couldn't really recover. So the effect feels powerful, which is why it's a 4-star, most likely. That's usually the case. Blizzard makes the powerful effects higher here. But it might be that it's just slightly too late. It all depends on how fast is the meta. Can you get by until you hit this? So that's going to make or break this card. If it's a meta where you can quite easily survive until you have this, and then steal good cards and then also scale with them, it's going to be good. But a lot of the time, you'll steal the cards and then just die because you took so much damage because other people had their buddy earlier. So again, we'll have to see about this one. Then Denathrius, Shady Aristocrat, Battlecry, discover a quest Complete it to get an 8 gold coin pouch. Now, this being a 2-star means you get it early. That helps you, I guess, unlock your second set of buddies, because once you've completed the second quest, you'll get 8 extra gold. So you can then put that forward to unlocking your second set of buddies, which can then give you more stuff. Notice that this is a neutral minion though, so you won't really be able to buff it or add it. But I think that's fine. It's just a Battlecry minion. You just get the golds. You'll probably not make the golden version here super often, but we'll have to see that. Yeah, this again feels like something that's so, like, you're going to have to play with it to see. Like, overall, 2-star buddies that do something useful were pretty good. Like, that was good back in the buddy meta. So my instinct here is this could be nice. Now, the issue is that it doesn't give you the money as you discover it. It'll give you a quest, which you then have to complete. So this is all going to be about, well, how difficult are they going to make the quest? It's really hard to evaluate this without knowing how difficult the quest will be. So yeah, that remains to be seen. We'll have to see it as they release, and maybe they'll have to tweak here about the difficulty with the quest. We'll see. Then we have a 5-star buddy, Nathanos Blightcaller, Sylvana's buddy. Remove a friendly minion, give its stats to its neighbors. So think Golden Ball, but targetable. So instinctively, when you look at this, you're going to be like, that's a 5-star? Is that crazy shit? But then you think like, okay, Golden Ball, but I can choose where it goes. How about Nathanos on a big Wrathweaver on top of Golden Ball? Then sell the gold. That you can see how that's pretty cool. Now it's also a type, it's an undead, so especially if you move stats to a ball and then sell the ball, it might go to the Nathanos. So it's not too bad that it has a type. But that's, you know, the main thing here is that you'll play it almost Mutanus-esque, where the way how Mutanus used to play was build a very large minion, then transfer that to the buddy, then then sell the buddy to get all the stats. That's how Mutinous Buddy used to work. It's kind of like a Golden Ball in a way, but it will go to 3 minions instead of 2. So here you will do a very similar thing. You will build a big minion and then transfer that to Cleave or Ball or Divine Shield or Myrmidon or what have you. So again, at first glance, you look at this like, is that worth a 5-star? And then you think about, oh, wow. So once again, we will have to see how fast the meta is. Sylvanas is not exactly a good hero, but maybe this is enough to put her on the map and maybe even make her one of the better ones. Excited to at least try her. Then, Jailer has a Mossworn, yeah, Soulkeeper, Death Rattle, summon 3 random tier 1 minions. Okay, I don't think it's going to be good enough, because also board space wise it's going to be a little bit of an issue. Jailer's hero power isn't that good, and again, from what I remember, there was a lot of crazy shit during buddy meta. So getting something that gives me some more death rattles, which is intended to juice up my not so good hero power to be slightly better, I don't really see it right now. I hope I'm wrong about it, but this doesn't make me want to pick Jailer all of a sudden. Then Enhance O Meccano gets Enhance O Medico. Minions in Bob's Tavern with Taunt, Reborn, Wind Fury, or Divine Shield have +1/+1 for each. So you'll always have one minion in the tavern that has one of these things, because that's the Enhance O hero power. You roll and then you get an enhancement on one of the minions. This is a tier 2 buddy, so you get it early. But again, it feels like it's not going to be impactful enough. Now, it is a mech itself, so you can keep it around and then make it golden and put a module on it. You can put a menace on it to reset a Deflectobot. So, instinctively, it looks like a pretty tempo-heavy buddy, which could be good enough to suddenly make Enhance O nice. We saw this with other buddies that were 2 stars at the release, like for instance Illidan had a 2-star buddy that would just give you tons of tempo, and then you just end up leveling, and the buddy was also really good to keep in the end game. This doesn't really feel like a buddy that you want to keep in the endgame, unless, of course, you know, you did buff it up. But the effect itself is not like, oh my god, like turn 12, I get something from the shop and it has +4/+4 extra. That's not something you play around. But maybe the tempo provided from this card is enough to then let you level and then buy good cards. So I think if Enhancer is going to be good, that's why you get the early tempo from this card, and then you level, and then you have access to high tier cards without taking damage. Then, Putricide has Fester Gut. Death Rattle, summon a random undead creation. That is a 4-star buddy, 5/2, that summons a random creation. This would truly, truly depend on the range of creations. If this is truly random and you can get any kind of tier 1 bullshit, this feels like there's just no way that's going to be good enough. Now, if there is a, you know, pre-selected pool of minions and there's a good chance you get a summoner or whatnot, then suddenly that's strong. So again, this is going to depend on how this is implemented. If this is truly random, it feels like it's just bad as a 4-star. It feels like just, yeah, not fast enough. Happy to be proven wrong, though. Right? I'm giving you my opinion, and the things I think are weak, I hope I'm wrong about it, because the more strong heroes we have, the more fun the meta is, because it feels like you can play almost any, similar like in the quest meta. All right, then Terran, the last new hero with a buddy. Shadowy Construct. After a friendly minion dies, give its neighbors +1/+1. So this is very, very reminiscent of the Harbinger. This old card, this 5/5, that every time a taunt would die, you would give the neighbors +2/+2. So that is all about tempo. That is not scaling, because this happens during the combat. Buffs that happen during the combat, unless specifically stated, are not permanent. And here there is no statement that these buffs are permanent. So this means that you get your Shadowy Construct. It's an undead. That's good. It's got a type. You put it in the back, and then you just have lots and lots of reborn stuff, preferably some taunts. And then you get very strong in the combat, and then you can level. So again, this is more a buddy that allows you to then get tempo to get to the point where you can, say, have Summoner and then reborn it and have all those shenanigans. In the very, very late game, would this still be worth keeping on the board? I guess if you make it golden and it's +2/+2 in the combat, and especially if you've played some Anubarak charges, so Anubarak buffs all undead's attack damage, you can even play a Soul Splitter and then let this come back as a high damage token with Anubarak. So yeah, there's absolutely ways to play this, but I will say that I will probably want to do this in an undead lobby. I'm not sure if Terran will be offered outside of an undead lobby, given that his own buddy is an undead, but I believe that that could happen with other type-specific heroes, because you had Murloc Holmes, not Murloc Holmes, you had Cookie, who summoned a Murloc, but you could get that in non-Murloc lobbies, which cost for some crazy Hamul interactions, which we're not going to go into right now. But yeah, so if you are offered this in an undead lobby, I would definitely want to try it, because it seems like you can do some cool stuff, making the buddy itself relevant with a Anubarak, Soul Splitter, etc., and get some high tempo early. But outside of an undead lobby, doesn't feel that. Okay, guys, I went on for way longer than I thought I would about, with this review. But I guess, that's why you guys are here. You want my insights. You want to see what I think about these cards. And that's it. So hope you guys enjoyed it. I'm super excited for the buddy meta. So yeah, expect lots and lots of videos coming with hopefully some crazy, crazy buddy games. Have a good one, everyone.